He was invited as a joke. A tired single dad walked into a billionaire's luxury gala. Laughter filled the room until he took one step inside. Whispers stopped. Smiles faded. And one unexpected truth froze everyone in place. Stay with this story, because what happened next changed a powerful room forever and proved that real wealth has nothing to do with money. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I am a single father who wakes before the sun. The alarm rings softly, and my hand reaches out with care so I do not wake my daughter. The room smells of old books, laundry soap, and yesterday's hope. I tie my shoes slowly, feeling the ache of years spent working twice as hard for half as much. Every morning I remind myself that love is not measured in money. It is measured in showing up. That day began like any other. Coffee tasted thin. Bills waited on the table like silent judges. Then my phone buzzed. The screen showed an invitation, a charity gala, black tie, luxury hotel. Host, one of the richest men in the city. At first I smiled. Then I read the message again. The wording felt sharp, almost playful. A friend later laughed and said it was a joke invite. He said someone like me was never meant to attend. His words landed heavier than any insult. I folded the phone and went to work. All day, machines hummed and lights flickered. My hands worked on instinct while my mind stayed on that invitation. I thought of my daughter asking why people stare at our old car. I thought of the nights she slept hungry so I could say she ate. By evening, rain washed the streets clean. The city glowed with reflected light and quiet promise. I stood in front of my mirror. My suit was simple. It fit my shoulders from years ago before life grew heavier. I adjusted my tie with trembling fingers. My heart beat like it wanted to escape. The hotel doors opened with a hush of warm air and perfume. Crystal lights hung like frozen stars. Laughter bounced off marble walls. Shoes clicked with confidence. I felt every eye before I saw a single face. Whispers traveled faster than footsteps. I heard my name spoken with disbelief. I smelled polished wood and expensive cologne. My palms grew damp. I took one step forward, then another. The room seemed to narrow. A familiar voice laughed too loudly near the center. The billionaire stood there, glass raised, smile sharp. His eyes met mine. For a second, confusion flickered, then recognition struck like thunder. The laughter stopped. Music faded into silence. Forks paused midair, every face turned. I felt small, yet strangely steady. Memories rushed through me like a storm. Late nights, tired mornings, a child waiting by the door. The billionaire lowered his glass. His smile vanished. Something unreadable crossed his face. The room held its breath. I felt the weight of judgment and surprise pressing from every direction. My shoes stood firm on the polished floor. My spine straightened without effort. I realized I was not ashamed. I was present, I was standing. And in that frozen moment, before a single word was spoken, I understood that this night was about to change everything for reasons no one in that room was ready to face. Yet the silence stretched longer than comfort allows. I heard my own breathing, slow, measured. The billionaire stepped closer. His shoes made no sound on the marble floor. I could see the lines on his face now, not from age, from pressure. From years of being admired but rarely understood. He looked at my suit, then at my hands, rough, scarred, honest. A murmur rose behind him, some voices curious, some amused, some uneasy. I felt the heat of judgment on my back, yet I also felt something else. A quiet strength I never learned in school, the kind born from sacrifice. The billionaire spoke my name out loud. The sound echoed. People leaned in. He asked how I received the invitation. His tone held doubt. I answered calmly. I said I received it the same way everyone else did, because I was invited. A few gasps escaped the crowd. Someone laughed nervously. I smelled wine spill somewhere behind me. The billionaire studied my face longer this time, as if searching for a memory. As if time itself paused to help him remember, he asked about my work. I told the truth: factory shifts, night repairs, side jobs, single father, one child. Everything I said sounded small in that room, yet it felt large inside my chest. A woman near the stage wiped her eyes. A man lowered his phone. The billionaire's jaw tightened. He looked around the room, at silk dresses, at polished smiles, at people who never missed a meal. He asked why I came. I told him I came because my daughter believed I belonged everywhere honesty walked. The room shifted. Not in noise, in feeling, something unseen cracked. The billionaire exhaled slowly. His shoulders dropped. He asked the staff to bring a chair, not for him, for me. The chair scraped softly across the floor. He invited me to sit beside him. Cameras lifted. Voices rose again. This time unsure, I sat. My heart raced. I could feel hundreds of eyes waiting. The billionaire leaned closer. His voice lowered. He said the invitation was meant as a joke at first, a test of ego. A careless moment of arrogance. His words carried weight now, not pride, regret. He admitted he expected humiliation. He admitted he expected me to stay away. I felt a dull ache behind my ribs. Not anger, recognition. I told him people like me live with invisible tests every day. He nodded slowly, as if learning something no balance sheet ever taught him. The room grew quiet again. Different now, not frozen, listening. The billionaire stood. He placed a hand on the table. He said this night was no longer about wealth. He said it was about work no one applauds. About love no one sees. About fathers who do not quit. My throat tightened. I thought of my daughter sleeping at home, waiting for my return, unaware that her world was quietly expanding. The billionaire turned toward the crowd. He raised his voice. He asked them who they thought carried the real weight of society. The answer hung in the air, heavy, unavoidable. And as every face looked between him and me, I realized the shock of my arrival was only the beginning of a lesson that this room had long avoided learning. No one answered him at first. Silence returned deeper than before. I felt the air press against my ears. The billionaire waited. His gaze moved slowly across the room. Some people looked down, some shifted their weight. Some stared at me as if I carried a mirror. He asked again, more gently, "Who carries the weight when no one watches?" A server near the wall swallowed hard. A woman near the front clasped her hands. I sensed stories rising in their chests, unspoken, heavy. The billionaire turned back to me. He asked about my daughter. He asked her name. Saying it out loud filled my mouth with warmth. I described her laugh, the way she counts steps, the way she believes tomorrow listens to effort. His eyes softened, not pity, respect. He told the room that his own father worked himself into silence. That money arrived later. That love arrived too late. The confession moved through the crowd like a slow wave. People leaned closer. Phones lowered. Egos loosened their grip. The lights above us seemed less harsh. The billionaire said wealth often forgets where it came from. He said comfort can dull gratitude. He said tonight felt like a reminder he almost ignored. I felt my chest tighten again. This time from recognition shared. He asked me to stand with him, not behind, not below, beside. We stood shoulder to shoulder, two lives shaped by very different roads, meeting at the same truth. He addressed the donors. He said charity must begin with humility. He said help means listening before giving. A few heads nodded slowly. Some eyes glistened. The room felt smaller now, more human. He announced a new initiative, support for working parents. Education funds for children of laborers. Flexible jobs for those who carry families alone. The words echoed, not polished. Earnest, applause began softly, then grew, not thunderous, sincere. I stood still, letting it pass around me. I felt no victory, only relief. As if a door long shut cracked open. The billionaire leaned in and thanked me, not for attending, for arriving. For standing when it would have been easier to disappear. I thought of all the nights I wanted to give up. All the mornings I stood anyway. I realized strength often looks ordinary until it enters an unfamiliar room. The crowd slowly returned to motion. Conversations resumed. Different now. Lower, more thoughtful people approached me. Not to judge, to ask, to listen, to share pieces of their own hidden weight. I answered each with patience, with the calm learned from years of being unseen. And as the night continued, I sensed this gathering had shifted from spectacle to something quieter and far more powerful, something still unfolding. Something that had only begun to reveal how deeply one honest presence can change the direction of many lives. The conversations around me grew softer. Not smaller, deeper. A man in an expensive suit spoke about his mother working double shifts. A woman with diamonds on her wrist admitted she never learned her driver's name. Stories surfaced like hidden scars. I listened more than I spoke. That was a skill poverty teaches well. The billionaire stepped away briefly. When he returned, he carried a folder, plain, unmarked. He placed it on the table between us. He said it held plans, not promises, plans built to last beyond applause. I felt the weight of the folder without touching it. Responsibility carries its own gravity. He asked if I would advise the program, not as a symbol, as a voice, as someone who lives the reality numbers never capture. My breath caught. I thought of time, of exhaustion, of my daughter's homework spread across the kitchen table. I answered honestly. I said I would help if the help stayed human, if dignity stayed central. He nodded without hesitation, agreement without negotiation. The room noticed. Eyes followed that nod. I sensed a shift in power, subtle, real. Music resumed at a lower volume. The sound wrapped around us like a calm tide. A waiter brought water, not wine. The glass felt cool in my hand. Grounding, the billionaire asked how I managed fear, the kind that arrives at night. The kind that whispers failure. I told him fear never leaves. It learns its place when love stands taller. He absorbed that quietly, as if storing it for later survival. A large screen behind the stage lit up. Images of families, workers, parents holding children with tired smiles. The billionaire explained the vision, not charity as spectacle, support as partnership. Jobs designed around life, not life broken by jobs. The audience leaned forward. I felt hope move through the room, not loud, steady. I imagined my daughter years from now, walking into rooms without apology, believing she belonged before proving it. The billionaire asked me to share one thing, just one. I spoke about mornings, about waking before light, about choosing patience over despair, about showing up even when no one claps. I said work done in love never disappears. It travels forward, through children, through choices, through unseen ripples. The room stayed still again, not frozen, focused. I realized then this night was stretching beyond an event. It was becoming a turning point, yet I also knew real change moves slower than speeches. It moves through follow-through, through hard days after applause fades. The billionaire met my eyes once more. There was resolve there, not performance, commitment. And as the evening continued, with plans unfolding and connections forming, I felt certain that the hardest work still waited ahead, work that would test intentions, expose weaknesses, and demand patience from all of us, work that was only beginning to take shape in the quiet spaces between words and promises. The night ended without fireworks. No grand finale, just handshakes that lasted longer than necessary, just eyes that finally met without judgment. When I stepped outside, the rain had stopped. The city smelled clean, honest. Like a second chance, I drove home slowly. Streetlights passed like quiet witnesses. My daughter slept when I arrived. I sat beside her bed for a long moment. I realized nothing truly changed that night because of money. It changed because someone listened, because pride stepped aside, because dignity was allowed to speak. In the days that followed, plans became work. Work became effort. Effort became impact, not perfect, not easy, but real. I learned that respect does not come from where you sit at a table. It comes from how you carry yourself when you stand alone. I learned that kindness has the power to interrupt arrogance, that humility can educate wealth, that the strongest people often arrive quietly, and when they do, the world pauses, not because they demand attention, but because truth has entered the room. The moral is simple yet demanding. Never measure a person by their appearance. Never confuse silence with weakness. And never forget that the hardest working hearts often carry the greatest wisdom. Because when we choose empathy over ego and understanding over mockery, we do not just change one moment. We change the direction of many lives. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, please share it, leave a comment below, and let someone know. You are never alone.